Welcome to part two of why I stopped smoking weed. Let me introduce myself. My name is Sydney. That's Sydney Island. That's Island with a Y, not an S. Part one got cut off because I didn't have enough space on this phone. So I had to do I had to work my magic, and voila, we're going to continue with part two. Okay, so I left off with African Americans being prone to getting thrown in jail for having, being in possession of marijuana, which is very unfair, but that is the reality. And I was saying how, you know, smoking weed is just not worth it. It's just not worth having to risk getting thrown in jail. And I would also like to mention that is costly. It costs money to smoke weed. In some areas it costs $20 for a gram. If you're in my area, it's usually $10 for a gram, and then people be buying gram after gram after gram after gram. And when you add it all up, how much money did you spend on weed in a month? And then in 3 months, and then in 8 months, and then in a year. If you add it up, you may have spent up to $1,000 on marijuana, and you could have saved that money to get yourself a car. You could have saved that money for rent. You could have saved that money for food. You could have saved that money for your college tuition. Like, you could have saved it for anything. But people steady spend money on weed. Like let's say you work a little retail job and you don't even make that much money. Which a lot of smokers usually do work at these little retail jobs because, well, let's be honest, like Mercury retrograde has really grabbed the crap out of my tongue to a point where it's frustrating. Okay. Let's be honest, people who work a lot of retail and fast food are overwhelmed by the crappiness of their jobs, so they smoke weed. Okay, so we have a lot of smokers who are work entry level jobs or work minimum wage jobs, and you already don't get paid enough as it is, and then you spending your money on weed. Like, you could have saved up that money so that you can move up and do better in life. Okay, so that's also a reason to stop smoking weed, and that's the reason I stopped smoking. Okay, I'm, like I said before, I'm not making this video to tell you stop smoking weed. I'm not your mother. Okay, you gonna do what you gonna do regardless of this video. Okay, but I just want to throw that out there, that it's too costly and it's not worth it. Okay, it's an expensive habit. The next one, which was actually the last one that I wrote, but I will add more onto it. But I wrote fainting spells. I don't know if other people experience this, but for some reason, this a lot of this weird stuff like itchy skin and fainting spells and stuff like that has happened more recently. More like in the past. In 2020. But I did have a few fainting spells in the past, like way back when I was like 18. And so I don't know why, but like when I smoke weed, I would feel like I was gonna pass out. Like my legs would feel really weak, and then I would start seeing stars. Those little stars that you see in your eyes, and then I would like feel like my body was just going down and down and down and down to a point where I had to sit down. And this has happened in the past, but lately it has happened like more. And I didn't think much of it, but I knew that it had something to do with the weed because it only happened like right after I would smoke weed. It never happened any other time. I don't know why marijuana would cause fainting spells, but after smoking for so long, I realized that marijuana, people think that it's so healing and it's a herb, but since the aliens, whoever, the government is tampering with the weed, I think that it is actually giving people side effects that they wouldn't have otherwise had. So when I make these videos, I just want to say that I feel like it would have been safer to smoke weed like back in the 80s. I feel like it was a better thing to do, was safer to do. But people still say, like older people still say that they have gotten paranoid smoking weed. So there's always a characteristic of smoking weed. That's always a symptom. It's paranoia and anxiety, and it's always been that way for so long. But I think that it's getting more intense. I don't know that for a fact, but that's what I'm going to say about that. And my advice for those who are looking to, stop smoking weed, but they just don't know how to stop because they're addicted. That actually like really put myself on the spot by saying that, because I really didn't even have the answer right away. But let me meditate and then come up with the answer. You think that you can't get that high in any other way, but you can. And that way is through changing your diet and going vegan, or even better, fasting. You can experience a high that feels like you're on marijuana when you go vegan and you just do not eat any meat and any dairy or anything that comes from an animal. And people have reported that once they went vegan, they lost a desire to drink alcohol and to smoke weed because they felt they were high all the time. And I definitely can attest to that. I made a video on my other channel called Itty Bitty Black Lady, talking about why I went vegan. Y'all should check that video out. And there's something in the food, especially when you eat meat, that causes depression and anxiety. And when you eat a lot of meat, it builds up a mucus in your body, and mucus is the number one cause of like every disease out there. Shout out to Dr. Sabi. I learned that from him. And on top of that, it messes with your mind. Having mucus in your body, it messes with your mind. And I've noticed that right after I would eat meat, I always would have heightened anxiety and depression. And once I stopped, it was so much harder to become anxious and worried. And I had so much more mental clarity. And right now I'm on a vegan fast, and I'm trying to do the Ralph Smart thing where I only eat 1 meal a day, and it's really helping me to a point where I feel high, and I can't even imagine wanting to drink or smoke because it's like I feel so good that I don't need to. And I think that that's also a thing, is that when you do that, when you actually are so happy in your life, you don't need to do drugs. People do drugs because they're unhappy. People do drugs to escape. But once you eat right, get rid of the meat and the dairy out of your diet, eat fruits and veggies, eat healthy, exercise, meditate. Meditation also gives the marijuana effect in your mind. It definitely does. So if you go vegan, fast, and meditate. And also I have these little pills. Let me get y'all the pills that make you feel good. I also take herbs. These are natural organic herbs. And this one is called Dopamacuna. And this gives you a heightened sense of happiness. It releases dopamine, which is the thing that makes you happy. And I got this off of Amazon.com. And I will link this in the description box below. And ashwagandha is also another herb pill. These are herbs. These are not illegal drugs. These are not drugs that's going to make you go crazy or nothing like that. They're natural herbs. Their effects is not too overwhelming. But I will say, for a person like me who's already energetic, this can be too much, okay? Like, I'm already ADHD, super hyper, so when I take that, I can get so high energy that I get a little anxious. So, just keep that in mind. But this boosts your mood like crazy. This also boosts your mood like crazy. And this, for me, ashwagandha, relieves anxiety for me. This is like anti-anxiety. This is antidepressant. This, for me, is both anti-anxiety and antidepressant. And this is more so antidepressant. And they're herbs, and you can get them both on Amazon. I got this on Amazon, and you can get this at Walmart or Amazon. And they're really good, and they're natural, and they're organic, and they're vegan, and they don't hurt you one bit, and they give you what you need. You don't need to smoke marijuana when you're taking this and you're eating healthy. Like that combination is amazing. So that's what I would suggest to those who have trouble quitting smoking weed, okay? Because it's becoming a real like pandemic of young people out here smoking weed to cope, as they say. It helps me to cope. You don't understand. It helps me to cope. And I get it. I used to be that person. Like I was smoking weed for 5 years. From age 18 to 24, I was smoking weed, and I only quit like 3 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago. And so it takes a lot, especially when you're going through stress. But just know that it will help you more than it will hurt you to stop smoking weed. And I definitely feel just more clear of mind, less exhausted. And I don't have to worry about, losing my mind because I smoke too much or anything like that. Some people have had times where they smoke so much they vomited. And I don't have to deal with any of that. And same with alcohol, And the alcohol is a whole nother problem for a whole nother freaking video. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I would recommend to meditate your butt off, because when you meditate, you don't need drugs. That's just the bottom line. And that's my advice for y'all. Yeah, like, comment, share, and subscribe. I love y'all. Be patient. I'm about to come out with these rising videos. All right. I think I already got one out because I don't know when I'm gonna post this video. I don't know if I'm gonna spit everywhere. I don't know if I'm gonna post this before or after I post the rising sound video, but yeah, I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and subscribe to my second channel, Itty Bitty Black Lady. I love you all. Bye bye.